I hardly address things, so therefore when I do address them, it all just comes out, like everything comes out.
How does it feel being married to one of the greatest rappers out there, man? You should be in a good place right now.
Let's play, man. Y'all wanna play? It's all fun and games, so we wanna play too.
We outside!
That Nicki Minaj would never, has never, and will never speak ill of anyone's child.
I got my son, one baby boy here. Yes, he's on, baby boy.
Let's meet you there. That's the start.
Let's get it going, man.
I am not a clown. That's clown.
What's up, kid? How you doing, man? Who these people? You know these people? You don't know these people? Me neither, man.
I was a part of something so mortifying and so humiliating to go through in front of upper echelon people.
We'll meet you on your vacation.
That's a fact.
Mortified. I would never talk about anyone's child or parenting. I don't give
A feud is an ongoing beef between divas.
Nicki Minaj shocked the world when she married Kenneth Petty, a man with a serious criminal past, and a name that's followed by red flags, not headlines. People were confused, then concerned, and now straight up alarmed. But this isn't just about a bad relationship choice. It runs much deeper. Nicki isn't just offending a man with convictions for attempted rape and manslaughter. She's emotionally entangled in a pattern that's been playing out since she was a little girl growing up in a house filled with screaming, violence, and fear. What looks like loyalty to some is actually survival mode on autopilot. And if you think the story ends with just another celebrity romance, think again. It involves legal threats, disturbing accusations, and a psychological loop that keeps spinning no matter how much success she earns. Nicki Minaj's latest news isn't about music. It's about why the woman at the top of her game keeps falling for the kind of men who bring her down. Nicki Minaj was born in Trinidad and raised in Queens, New York. From the outside, she looked like a firecracker with a bright future. But inside her childhood home, things were dark. Her father, Robert Marriage, struggled with addiction and violence. Nicki remembered praying at the foot of her bed, asking God to make her rich, not for herself, but so she could save her mother. She believed if she made enough money, her mother wouldn't have to stay with her father anymore. That's how bad it was. There were constant fights, walls punched out in anger, and even one terrifying moment when her father set the house on fire with her mother still inside. The police were called again and again. And in the middle of all that chaos was young Nicki, scared and powerless. That kind of trauma leaves marks, not just emotional scars, but deep patterns in how you love and who you trust. Kids who grow up in homes like that often develop anxious attachment styles, which mean they crave love and closeness, but live in constant fear of losing it. They grow up hyper-aware of danger, always reading the room, always on edge. That becomes the emotional norm. So when they get older, they don't chase peace. They chase what feels familiar. And for Nicki, dysfunction felt like home. She even admitted in her own documentary that she promised herself no man would ever abuse her like her father did. But years later, she found herself in a relationship that left her feeling so low she forgot who she was. She couldn't even get in the studio anymore because one person had drained every ounce of self-worth she had left. That kind of emotional breakdown doesn't come out of nowhere. It grows from seeds planted long before fame and money ever showed up. Nicki Minaj's first long-term relationship was with Safaree Samuels. They were together for over a decade, starting in the early 2000s. At first, it seemed like a classic ride or die couple. But behind the scenes, things were messy. In 2011, Safaree reportedly hit Nicki with a suitcase, and a police report was filed. After they broke up in 2014, the floodgates opened. Safaree tweeted that Nicki once cut him so badly he had to leave in a stretcher. He claimed he told police he did it to himself just to protect her, and he hinted it wasn't a one-time thing. Nicki shot back, accusing him of stealing her credit card. Safaree then clapped back harder, saying he used the card for escorts and brought up again with Meek Mill before their breakup was even official. The timeline was ugly. By 2015, Nicki was with Meek Mill. They looked like a power couple, but the relationship didn't last. They broke up in 2017, and that chapter ended in chaos too. Nicki later accused Meek of kicking her, spitting on her, and sending his sister to the hospital after an argument. Meek denied it all and tried to distance himself, saying he did hit women and wasn't answering questions about her during his album rollout. Then came Kenneth Petty. Nicki had known Kenneth since high school, and in 2018, they reconnected. It didn't take long. They were married by 2019 and had a son in 2020. She said it felt real, like he knew her before all the fame and chaos. And maybe that's exactly why she clung to it. Kenneth isn't on Instagram. He's not chasing the spotlight. He's the opposite of every industry dude she dated. But there's a darker side. Kenneth is a registered offender. At 15, he was convicted of attempting a non-consensual act against a 16-year-old girl named Jennifer Huff. Years later, in 2002, he pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter after taking a man's life. He served 7 years in prison. This isn't gossip. It's court documented. When fans started asking why Nicki would be with someone like that, she didn't back down. She doubled down. She turned off comments and told people online that Kenneth and Jennifer were in a relationship at the time. She said the internet couldn't run her life. And she made it clear that his past didn't define her happiness. On her Queen radio show, she said being with someone who loved her before the money was more valuable than clout. She even called out people who said she lowered her standards, telling them happiness and good sex can't be bought. But while Nicki tried to silence the noise, Kenneth's legal problems kept stacking up. In 2020, he got arrested again for failing to register as an offender after moving to California. Then in 2023, he violated his probation by threatening Cardi B's then husband. But the real bomb dropped in 2021. Jennifer Huff filed a lawsuit claiming Nicki and Kenneth tried to intimidate her into recanting her story. She said Nicki personally called her, offered her $20,000 to sign a statement denying the original assault, and pressured her with threats. The lawsuit against Nicki was later dropped, but Jennifer's case against Kenneth is still ongoing. Meanwhile, things boiled over again when Nicki and Kenneth ran into Meek Mill at a store. A screaming match broke out. Cameras caught it all. Then the Shade Room posted a meme mocking Kenneth, and Meek liked it. That lit a fuse. Nicki posted a picture of Meek with a clown emoji on his face and jumped on Twitter accusing him of abusing his sister and her. Meek fired back, dragging her brother into mess, a man who'd been convicted of sexually assaulting a child. That whole exchange was nasty. But what it revealed was that Nicki's history with men wasn't just unlucky, it was a pattern. Her childhood wired her to find chaos normal. She was raised in noise, so when things are quiet, they don't feel real. Experts call this trauma bonding. When you grow up in dysfunction, your brain starts to see pain as passion. And if a man is hated by the world, that can feel like rebellion, like you're fighting for love. Psychologists have even called it shared psychosis, when two people feed off each other's delusions. Nicki may not believe Kenneth is innocent deep down, but admitting the truth would feel like losing. So instead, she fights harder. She rewrites the story. Because if he's wrong, then maybe she was wrong to choose him. And that would mean all the pain she went through was for nothing. That's too much to bear. So she keeps the fantasy alive. Nicki Minaj's scandal update isn't just about him. It's about the way trauma traps you in choices that hurt. Some people watching this story unfold think Nicki's being loyal. Others think she's in denial. But let's just say the facts are clear. Kenneth has multiple convictions, active lawsuits, and ongoing probation issues. None of that disappeared when he married a superstar. Nicki isn't the first woman to fall for someone who makes her feel safe just because he's familiar. But familiar doesn't always mean good. And emotional safety isn't the same as physical safety. Just because there haven't been reports of Kenneth putting hands on Nicki doesn't mean the relationship is healthy. We've seen Nicki go to war for this man, shutting down social media, fighting with exes, and facing legal accusations herself. That's not love. That's survival in disguise. When she defends him, she's also defending the choices she made that brought her here. It's about pride. It's about proving that she didn't mess up. But sometimes, protecting your image means losing your peace. And the longer she stays in this cycle, the harder it becomes to leave. Nicki Minaj's latest news is less about her music and more about her silence, what she's not saying. Her life, her brand, and her child are all affected by this ongoing legal shadow. And the sad truth is, when you've been through as much as Nicki has, chaos doesn't scare you. It comforts you. She once said in her documentary that she lost herself, and that tells you everything. You can't fight for someone else until you find yourself again. There are layers to this story that fans often overlook, like the fact that Nicki's father eventually went to rehab and turned his life around. But even then, the damage was already done. He died in a hit-and-run in 2021, and Nicki called it the most devastating loss of her life. She said she found herself wanting to call him more now that he was gone. That kind of grief hits different when you never got closure. It makes the pain feel fresh all over again. And it's possible that losing him pushed her even deeper into the comfort zone of chaos. She wasn't just mourning him, she was mourning the version of herself that never felt safe. It's also important to look at the psychology. A lot of women who experience trauma as kids end up in relationships that mirror that trauma. It's not a coincidence. It's the brain replaying what it knows. In the book, Women Who Love Psychopaths, the author explains how early trauma and a high tolerance for dysfunction can blind women to red flags. Instead of seeing danger, they see intensity. Instead of spotting lies, they feel chosen. And that's where Nicki might be stuck. Kenneth makes her feel known in a world where everyone else sees her as a brand. He's not there for cameras. He was there before the wigs and the fame. That history matters, especially when your life has been lived under a spotlight. But nostalgia can be dangerous. It can rewrite memories. And when the past feels more comforting than the present, you start to ignore the truth. That's why Nicki's story isn't just about who she's with. It's about why she picked him and why she's staying. Because for someone who grew up in a war zone, peace can feel like a lie. So here's the hard truth. Nicki Minaj, one of the most powerful women in music, is still fighting battles that started before she ever held a mic. The trauma she faced as a child didn't disappear when the fame came. It just followed her in different forms. Kenneth Petty isn't just a husband. He's a mirror. He reflects all the chaos she grew up around. And that might be why she clings to him. Because leaving would mean facing the pain head on. And healing doesn't come with applause. It's quiet, it's lonely, and it's hard. But until Nicki faces the roots of why she chooses the men she does, she'll stay locked in the same cycle, mistaking pain for passion and dysfunction for love. Nicki Minaj's scandal update should make anyone ask, what does healing really look like when your pain built your empire? Can someone as powerful as Nicki walk away from a pattern that started before she ever knew her name would be in lights? And more importantly, if she ever does walk away, what kind of woman will emerge on the other side? Have you ever stayed with someone not because it was healthy, but because it felt familiar? Drop your story in the comments. Like this video if you've ever confused chaos for passion. And subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the spotlight. Because sometimes the real drama doesn't happen on stage. It happens inside us,